It's time for Lord Don's Treehouse of Terror. Oh, wait, no, that's The Simpsons. Lord Don's Crypt of... Oh, no, that's someone else. Lord Don's Vault. No. I know. Lord Don's Library of Horror. Brought to you by HalloweenPsychicFair.com. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida, and welcome to Lord Don's Library of Horror. And tonight our film is The Ghoul from 1933. And this film stars Boris Karloff, who was at this time very famous for his roles in Frankenstein and The Mummy, and a number of other actors, some of whom were already famous, some of whom would become famous, including Cedric Hardwicke, who may be more familiar to modern audiences as Pharaoh Seti from Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandments, Ralph Richardson making his film debut, and also Kathleen Harrison, a prolific character actress who may be familiar to you as the charwoman from A Christmas Carol from 1951, which starred Alistair Sim. However, at the time, many of these were not nearly as prestigious as they would later become, and Karloff was definitely the big name for the show. I like The Ghoul for a couple of reasons, one of which is I really quite enjoy the story, and the other is for the light that it shines on pagan revival of the day. And you know, a lot of people will try to convince you that nothing was going on in the pagan world prior to the 60s, but that's absolutely not true. There was a lot of interest in and practice of various forms of paganism in the early part of the 20th century, as in pretty much every century, going back to the Renaissance at least, and various kinds of revivals, and Egyptian religion was very much in vogue. And there were many people practicing Egyptian revivalism, which is featured in the film, with the main character being an Egyptian revivalist. And I think that is probably for pagans and for people in the metaphysical community the main interest in this film, and the way that this is portrayed. And we're going to have more to say about that as the film goes forward, but I think you'll find it very interesting. I regret that I could not find a better copy of this film, but I think you'll find it's a much better copy than our copy of White Zombie last week, and I hope that you enjoy it. And now, on with our film.
We don't want to buy no lino, no nothing.
Mr. Zagore, please.
Oh, him.
No sound, please. After 2 years I find you. I want the eternal light. You found me too late. For mine. I can kill with this from the end of the room. No lies, please. You cannot kill in England, Mahmoud. They get down. If I hang, there are others. The eternal light goes back to the tomb from which you stole it. But I tell you, I have not got it. Please, I am not a child. I sold it. To whom did you sell it? Professor Morlant. That robber of the dead. Has he sold it? He did not buy it, sir. What then? Like you, Mahmoud. He believes that the eternal light will open for him the gates of paradise? Even so. He gave the best part of his fortune for it. And very soon he will know whether or not he was right. What do you mean? Professor Morlant is dying. Then you think it will be buried with him? I'm sure of it. We have only got to wait until he is dead. Anubis. Opener of the way. What's that? Well, what is it?
Good evening. I have been in the neighborhood, and hearing of your master's illness, I took the liberty of calling. How is he tonight?
He'll not see the morning,
He hasn't asked for anyone of my cloth.
nor will he. He's set in his ways, and they're the ways of the heathen.
I know he won't see the rector, but though I'm a comparative stranger, I don't like to leave a man to die like that.
He'll die in his own fashion, as he has lived.
Still, sometimes at the end,
Not with him. He's stubborn and unbending, and will be so at the throne itself.
well, I suppose I can be of no use then.
No manner of use.
Good night.
He's asking for you. Where can I find Mr. Brown?
Who is it? Come in or go out.
You'll have to go up soon if you want to see him again. Curious house, this.
Curious owner.
Yes, but I suppose a great Egyptologist can't be expected to be like other people.
Well, he'll be like a great many other people soon.
That's not a very sympathetic thing to say.
Well, I'm not a sympathetic man. Want a drink?
That's, across the hall, isn't it?
I dare say.
September 22nd, 1931. Daily Journal. Nineteen 22. The eternal light, mine at last.
And here,
The door shut.
it is
No listeners.
none. They are drawn.
You were always suspicious. Have you ever trusted a living soul?
Only fools. I trust you.
Better to trust in the spirit than in the flesh.
I put my trust in my own God. Now, when I am dead, my funeral, you will bury me at dusk in the clothes I told you. You will place the figure of Anubis at the west of the inner chamber.
I will.
And on the night of the full moon, at the first hour, I will make my offering of the eternal light to Anubis, opener of the ways. If I have done well in his sight, those fingers will close over the jewel, and he will open to me the gates of immortality.
The hand of a heathen image will now come to life.
Ah, the bandage. Look. This is the eternal light. It must rest in my hand.
A man will now find peace who robs his heirs.
Bandage my hand. The eternal light must lie with me in the tomb. You're afraid of me?
I'm afraid for you.
If this should leave me, then you'll have reason to fear. For when the full moon strikes the door of my tomb, I will crack. You hear? I will come back to kill. Bandage my hand.
Doctor!
Window. Oh. Oh.
all over. Make out a certificate. What failure? What was the idea of bandaging his hand like that?
I cannot say. He had many queer fancies.
I'll be round in the morning to sign the certificate.
I'll no believe him, Master, tired till his body is laid to rest.
I put my trust in my own gods. How cool is that? I do too. Professor Morlant is very clearly shown as being a pagan, although this film uses the terms pagan and heathen interchangeably, as was the case at the time. And it's very clear that not only is he pagan, but everyone who knows him knows it, so he was obviously very openly pagan as well. And the other characters exhibit varying levels of disapproval of his paganism, but they are clearly aware of it and unable to in any way stop him from his chosen faith. It is interesting to compare this film versus The Mummy, which Karloff had previously starred in, which also featured ideas of Egyptian religion and Egyptian revivalism, and which did not have that kind of negative opining on the part of other characters. In this film, they felt the need to show that other characters disapproved, but when you consider that they were variously a parson, a servant who had very conservative views, etc., I suppose it makes sense that they would have had such ideas. It is worth noting that the family members do not seem to have any problem whatsoever with the professor's religion, and for all we know, they might share it. So these are some of the interesting things about the film, and we will return to it after these messages.
Greetings, I'm Lady Nikki Kirby. You may recognize my voice from Witch Hat Chats. It is a privilege to be participating in the Halloween Psychic Fair. The entity known as death is a universal constant that is often misunderstood. It comes in various forms, and we experience it on a daily basis. Discover how to tap into this powerful magic to transform your life in my workshop called Death, My Friend, My Ally. To register, please visit www.halloweenpsychicfair.com, and I look forward to meeting you. Have an amazing day.
I'm Reverend Lori Denman, and I'm the Dean of Students at witchschool.com. Our school offers pagan education anywhere, anytime, anywhere in the world. I'd like to answer a question that I get frequently as Dean of Students, and that is, where do I get started? There are so many courses offered at Witch School, over 130, and growing all the time, that people are kind of overwhelmed by our catalog and don't know where to start. There's 2 courses that I'd like to recommend as a starting place. One is Carillion 101, First Priesthood. Now, even if you're not going to study to become clergy, it is a great course that covers all the beginning concepts of Wicca from the Carillion point of view. The other course I'd like to recommend is Living a Wiccan Life, which is also a 52-week course, as is the first one. And it covers all aspects of living as a Wiccan. So that's really a great place to start course-wise. One feature we have built into the new site allows you to mark courses as favorites. So as you review the course catalog, pick all your favorites, and then you can go back and tackle them as you have room in your roster. If you have any other questions about Witch School, just contact support@witchschool.com.
Well, I quite like that Egyptian funeral. I wouldn't mind having something like that for myself when the time comes, but we'll see what happens. One of the major co-stars of tonight's film is Ernest Thesiger. Ernest Thesiger is a very interesting person. He was a British aristocrat, a needlepoint expert, and also, of course, an actor. He's most famous for having played Dr. Pretorius in The Bride of Frankenstein. He's also famous for having played in an earlier film called The Old Dark House, which is a phrase that's often used to describe this kind of film in general. And Ernest Thesiger was also fairly openly gay. And this was somewhat unusual at the time, not as unusual as one might think, although he had been married, but it was what's called a Lavender Marriage, where he was married to a woman who was lesbian while he was gay, and they made the best of their situation. And when I hear him repeatedly using the phrase queer fancies, I can't help but think that this would have been recognized as a double entendre even at that time. And so he's very definitely not hiding his identity even in the character that he's playing, and this is also true to some extent in Bride of Frankenstein. He's pretty clear about his sexuality even without being able to say it openly. And in daily life, he was apparently much more clear about it. So I think that he's a very interesting person to remember his very prolific career and also his bravery for being so open. So with that, let us return to our film.
Where are you going?
To feed the lamp that is to burn inside.
It's all wrong.
It's a disgraceful devil.
Wait. You're leaving the key inside.
Aye. That was another of his queer fancies.
I want you to stay here and watch that man with the club foot.
I'm not a detective, Mr. Broughton.
One more word from you, Davis, you're out of work. I have reason to believe that he has stolen a valuable piece of property. May make an effort to get rid of it. Watch him and telephone me at my office if he leaves the house.
Harlan. Mr. Harlan to Langford Street. From Ransom. Shillings if you'll drive me to Yaxford Station in time to catch the 5 o'clock train.
I'll oblige you, Governor. I was going straight back as it was.
That's a very old carpet, Mr. Morland. I should be glad if you will not kick it to pieces.
I'm sorry. When I'm angry, I do kick.
You're good enough to explain that.
Yes, I intend to. By your own statement, Miss Holland and I are the sole heirs of Professor Morland. We would inform neither of his death nor of his funeral.
Your uncle died and was buried in a certain way according to his wishes, which need I go on? Almost his last words were a threat to return from the dead. In my opinion, he was mad.
Well, that may be so. Miss High should have been consulted.
But I understood that Miss Harland were not on speaking terms.
Well, what of that? You expect quiet at a funeral, don't you?
Yes, I also expect it in my office.
I'm very sorry, but after all, this means a bill to both of us. Uncle was worth about $4,000 a year.
Well, he isn't now.
What do you mean by that?
He spent a good deal, you know. It may surprise you to know that some time ago he drew a check for £75,000.
What for?
I don't know.
You don't know? You were in charge of all his affairs and you don't know?
That's what I said. And I advise you to look after the tone of your voice. Follow you.
I'm going to run down to Owlsvale House tomorrow morning.
Yes, I don't think you realize the conditions that you'll find there.
No. That's why I propose to go.
You won't like it. You'll be most uncomfortable.
You don't advise me to go?
I think you'll be making a very big mistake.
Then I'll go. Oh, by the way, does Miss Harland know anything about this will business?
No doubt she will have received a letter from me by now.
Do you know Miss Harland?
No. I propose to give myself the pleasure of calling upon her this evening. Hello. Oh, it's you, a minute. I have a visitor here, but I think he's just going.
Thank you very much. If you're going to see Miss Harland tonight, I shall be there myself.
No doubt you will succeed in making a painful interview intolerable. Good afternoon.
Man, I must help your practice a great deal.
Now, Davis.
Can you direct me to Blandford Street, please?
Follow the tram lines, close on the Mall, and then turn right at the church.
I'm obliged to you.
Oh, it's good to get out of that fog. My dear, a most exciting thing has happened. Oh! Oh, don't let it happen again. No, not that. That's a chestnut. It's this. It looks like a solicitor's letter. Just been delivered by hand. Oh, dear. What haven't we paid? I wonder if I'm going to get a shock or not. Oh! Oh, Caney, that is a silly game. After all you said about Uncle Henry, what do you think he's done? Be nice at last? He's dead. My dear, I'm sorry. And his solicitor wants to see me. My dear, I'm glad. He was awfully rich, wasn't he? He may have left you a fortune. If he has, I'll buy you a private cinema. Oh, I say, did this letter come? A few minutes ago, what? He asked me to telephone him if I could see him here at 6. You don't want to miss the chance of a fortune for the sake of tuppence. You better run out and do it now. You're right.
Why, good Lord, it's Betty Harlan.
Race Morland.
You would go and get yourself into some kind of mix-up.
You would arrive when it's all over.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going home.
Wait a minute. I was on my way.
Detective.
Cunningham, get out. Quickly as possible.
We're delighted to see you. No, it isn't Mr. Broughton. It's my cousin, Ralph Morlant. Dear Mr. Morlant, we're delighted to see you. Wrong again. We don't like him very much. Oh, don't we? I didn't realize.
Well, our two families are not on speaking terms.
Oh, dear.
As far as I can make out, it was started by my letter as a Christmas joke.
Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
But now he's dead. The trouble's all over.
I'm not sure it hasn't just begun.
Where's Mr. Broughton? Because I didn't telephone. I nearly got throttled instead. Betty! There was a man with a limp. He pushed a note into my hand. I just put it in my bag when somebody snatched the whole affair.
What was in it?
There's something of value at Owl's Vale. Others are after it. So come.
And Broughton was doing everything he knew to keep me away from there.
Why, goodbye.
I'm going down there right away. I'll let you know what happens.
You're wrong. I'll let myself know. If you go, I go too. You can't do that. Alone in a house with a man you're not even on speaking terms with. Oh, don't be so absurd. It's not as if I even liked him. Oh, if another woman was going, perhaps. I suppose that means you want to come too. Well, obviously, it's my duty.
And suppose I object?
I'm not so broke I can't hire a car.
Oh, all right, you win, but for goodness sake, hurry. Best you can. There you are.
Oh, this is an unspeakable car. There's no room for my leg.
It looks as if I'll have to walk.
You might do worse. There's a grand moon. It's full.
This film has very atmospheric sets and lighting, which unfortunately are not shown to their best effect in this somewhat deteriorated copy of the film. At the time, they would have been much clearer. And they, in my opinion, show a strong influence from German cinema of the 20s, which could be very impressionistic. And I think you'll agree that some of these sets, although very realistic, also have a strongly impressionistic quality to them. And I think that's part of the charm of the film. Again, it was a little bit more charming in clearer prints that were circulating when it came out, but you can still see the effort that went into the design of this film. So I hope that you will enjoy that, and we shall return to our film after these messages.
Happy Halloween, folks, and welcome to the month of October, and I'm hoping you're going to enjoy this wonderful festive season. HalloweenPsychicFair.com, where our online psychic fair is occurring, is where you can get seances, classes, and psychic readings to your heart's delight. We had an opportunity for an all-access pass which could bring you into dozens of classes by major people, including Byron Ballard, Phil Farber, Reverend Don Lewis, and so many more spectacular people teaching you how to be a psychic, as well as practicing simple magic and a way to learn how to be better at your craft. Plus, we are going to add on these magical seances with Reverend R.J. Greenfield, Reverend Don Lewis doing these major psychics. Plus, we're going to have some great people doing just ordinary readings for you, if there's anything ordinary about a reading. So check it out, HalloweenPsychicFair.com, one of the greatest places to be. It'll be running through the entire month of October, and you'll be able to enjoy it. So check it out, look at it, enjoy, HalloweenPsychicFair.com. Join us today, and happy Halloween.
October is here, and you know what that means. We pagans get on our broomsticks and gather together during the witching hour. One of the biggest problems us pagans face is that we have very little space. And how do you keep our altars with us? Don't fret, because at Moonlight Potions and Charms, we have the passion in designing products that will help you to embrace the power of your own magic. With the tap of the wand, the altar on the go contains everything you need to set up your magical altar, even in the smallest of spaces. Or the altar on the go, Ultimately Wicked Special Edition, jam-packed with more items for your magical need. Our new arrivals include altars designed to honor the Voodoo Queen, Madame Marie Laveau, Santa Morte, as well as our beloved ancestors. There is so much more in our Wicked store to help you embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotioncharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
Hi, I'm Reverend Laurie Denman, Dean of Students at witchschool.com, your pagan education resource anywhere, anytime. I often have people ask me, what's at Witch School if I don't want to become clergy? Well, let me tell you, there are courses on divination, spell crafting, books of shadows, herbalism, crystals, tarot, many other forms of divination, just about any metaphysical topic you could want, we've got you covered at witchschool.com.
And now all of the characters converge on the old dark house. And continuing our discussion of the art direction of this film, you will notice that the old dark house features an awful lot of common horror tropes. It is an isolated country mansion. There is no electricity. It's all lit by candlelight, which might seem odd in 1933, but so it was sometimes still the case with isolated houses. But here it's obviously being used for effect. And you'll notice also the importance attached to the full moon in terms of the god Anubis, even though these things actually have nothing to do with one another. But it's part of the general horror trope of the day. So, as we return to our film, watch for those horror tropes and see how many you can spot, because there are an awful lot of them here.
I'll see if there's a name on this gate. No, there's nothing to show this.
But there aren't any other places, and I'm frozen. Well, it's no use going to the wrong place.
Wait a minute, here's someone on a bike. Hi there, Cocky, wait a minute. Oh, hello. I'm awfully sorry, I didn't see you were a parson.
Oh, that's all right. Any trouble?
Oh, no, no. We just want to get to Owlsvale House.
Well, this is it. As a matter of fact, I'm calling there myself.
But did you know my uncle, Professor Morlant?
Oh, slightly. First, I want to introduce myself. My name's Hartley, Nigel Hartley. I'm down at Raveley. The vicar's ill.
How'd you do? I'm Ralph Morlant. This is Miss Holland. We're the heirs of the old...
Couldn't we have the rest of the introduction indoors?
Yes, yes, of course. You must be cold. Now, it's down this drive. You go along, I'll follow.
All right.
Here we are. Car will be all right here. I'll show you the way.
What a horrible house. I wish I was home in bed. I can hear someone coming.
Ah.
Well, don't stand about. Come inside. We'll go into the library.
Really, you're the rudest man alive. So pretty, Pussy. How horrible. It's stuffed.
I dare say you know your own business best, but why you should want to bring a parson?
A pure accident. We met at the gate.
So naturally you brought him in.
Broughton, I can stand a certain amount, but no more.
Oh, come, don't let's make a battle of it.
You stay here in the car.
No. I shall be among the trees, watching.
You may say I have no right to express this opinion, but to my mind it's a scandalous and disgraceful burial which may have disastrous consequences.
It would be very disastrous if he came back, wouldn't it? I quite see Mr. Hartley's point.
Yes, you make friends quickly, don't you?
And enemies quicker.
Need we have these childish squabbles?
We all know the dead men don't come back.
Oh, I wish I was back home in bed.
Hadn't somebody better answer that? I'm sorry to be an intimate friend of Professor Morlant. Well, you better come in. We seem to be giving a party. Oh, thank you.
My name is Aga Ben Dre.
An Egyptian.
An Arab.
I don't remember having heard your name.
I did not flatter myself that you would. But I knew Professor Morlant some years ago in Egypt. I heard too.
I must protest against anything of the sort.
Shouldn't the poor man look at his friends, too? I don't mind him going.
I can't believe that you'd willingly encourage paganism.
The Egyptians were not pagans, sir. As no doubt you know, Miss...
Cayley, I think you're all being unkind to Mr. Dore.
I don't think you people realize quite how far Morlant's queer ideas took him. He even believed that after his death at a certain hour, the image of Anubis would come to life in his tomb and rule. It's horrible.
Well, I can't see that it matters. After all, if that sort of mumbo-jumbo gave him any comfort,
It matters a great deal.
If my suggestion is likely to hurt anyone's feelings, please forget it.
Oh, I love you, Mr. Dragore.
Oh, your sympathy is more than charming.
Well, what about a cup of coffee after your cold drive? I dare say we should find some in the kitchen.
May I offer my services as pantryman?
Quite sweet of you. Come, Mr. Dragore. For sheer speed. She'll not let him out of our sight for a moment now.
Perhaps that's just as well.
I'm making a fire in the library.
Yes.
I'm sorry there should be this sort of atmosphere. After all, we're only ships that part in the night.
You want a drink or will you pass now?
Oh, well, thank you very much.
There you are.
Well, if you build it that way, there won't be any draught.
Well, it'll be the only place in this house where there isn't one, then.
Oh, don't you think you carry those separate retorts a trifle too far? And since we met, I can't remember you saying a kind word to anyone.
Perhaps you're right. I'm sorry.
Six cups. That's just 4 too many. Eh?
Tell me about Egypt. Have you ever seen a sheik?
I am one.
Oh, thanks. Then how should I address you? Oh, I'm cutting sandwiches for a sheik. I don't feel quite well.
Oh, don't be alarmed. We're not quite as uncivilized as people think.
Oh, don't say that. Do you ride a white stallion?
Sometimes.
Oh, down the path of the moon, the noble animal plunging and frothing up the nostrils till it founders at your feet, faithful unto death.
No, not very often. You see, it's rather too expensive.
Why, it's not your fault. We were taught to hate one another, but...
Good Lord, you don't think I hate you, do you?
Well, I can't somehow feel I'm your dearest friend.
You never did have a great deal of sense, did you?
Well, that's nice. I've a woman's intuition that you and I are up against things.
I'm pretty sure we are.
Well, then, let's cut the quarreling.
Shoulder to shoulder, eh? All right. Partners.
Partners.
Ah.
Oh, what a wonderful night. It's a full moon.
Scared of a dead man in his tomb? Shame on yourself. Are you a child that your knee should rattle at the talk of a madman? Look your enemy in the face. It's the fear of the big door has got you, and will hold you fast till you stare it down. Do dead men walk? I'm no thinking a dead man will cross my path tonight.
Aga Bentragore. That is definitely not an Arab name, although it does involve elements of names that would have been considered exotic at the time, but definitely is not an actual Arab-Egyptian name, and also definitely not an Arab-Egyptian actor. The part is being played by Harold Huth, who came from Yorkshire, and so I guess we'd have to say he's doing brown face. And that, of course, was common at this time. Objectionable, but there it is. And I do think, however, that there are some interesting things about the character. One of them is that, as far as I know, this is the first film to introduce the idea of an ancient line of surviving Egyptian pagan priesthood, preserving ancient mysteries and guarding mummies and jewels, etc., that you see in many other later films, particularly the later mummy films, where they're usually represented as the priests of Karnak. The other thing that you'll notice here is that this film draws heavily on the sheikh mania of the 1920s. In the 1920s, the idea of an Arab sheikh was often represented as the height of masculinity, and many women followed, particularly Rudolph Valentino, as a major sex symbol in this role, although others were playing this role as well. And it is important to remember that 1933 was not very long after the 1920s, and this sheikh mania was still in the air. And that is very interesting, I think, to observe in this film, because most of the sheikh films of the 20s you don't really see today because many of them were lost. One more thing about Aga Bentragore that I think is very important to mention is that he and Miss Katie are beginning what would be an interracial romance. Of course, it doesn't actually develop because of the nature of the story. But what's important about this is that none of the other characters are in any way bothered by this, even the more conservative ones, and I think that's very forward thinking for 1933. And now let us have a few messages, and then we shall return to our film. The Tarot of Hecate. My 100-card tarot deck, 30 years in the making, finally available to you from witchschoolstore.com. Check out a copy today. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from witchschool.com. Are you looking for the best in pagan and magical education? With more than 12,000 pages, witchschool.com is like having your own personal library with individual learning assistants to help you study. And Witch School's Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere education system is available any place on Earth, anywhere you are and anytime you want it, as long as you have an internet connection. Witch School's lifetime memberships are a great value. They really do last a lifetime. They've been there for years and they'll be there for years to come. So get your membership today at witchschool.com. Tonight's film stars Boris Karloff. Last week, of course, we were showing White Zombie starring Bela Lugosi. And those two names at this time were very much linked because they had both risen to fame playing monsters for Universal Pictures at more or less the same time. Karloff playing Frankenstein and Lugosi playing Dracula. And it's very interesting to look at their different lives and futures. Lugosi was Hungarian, and he hoped for a much better career than he was able to build, partly because he could never lose his Hungarian accent. And Karloff, despite the name, was actually British. More specifically, he was Anglo-Indian, although this fact was not brought out at any time during his lifetime. He was born William Henry Pratt, and was the grandnephew of Anna Leonowens, who was a famous women's rights activist and author, who is most famous today as the protagonist of The King and I. And his family was, again, Anglo-Indian, but they concealed this because of the prejudice against people from that background. And this was not known at any time during his lifetime. And this was not uncommon for people from that background. Another great star of the 30s, Merle Oberon, was also Anglo-Indian and also concealed this throughout her lifetime. So it was a very interesting background for him to come from. He was very well experienced as an actor before coming to the role of Frankenstein, but not in a prominent way. And his career turned around overnight, and Frankenstein made him an international star. One of the interesting stories about this is that when time came for him to go back to Britain for promotional tours, he was very concerned about meeting his brothers, who were all barristers and very prominent upper-middle-class people. He thought that they would be embarrassed by him and his career as a star of horror films. When he got there, he found out that his dignified brothers were fanboys who wanted nothing but pictures with him and to introduce him to all their friends as their famous brother, which is rather cool. Karloff had a very distinguished career, although, like Lugosi, he was always associated with horror, but he seems to have been happier with this than Lugosi was. And he continued working into his old age. He lived much longer than Lugosi, and was still making entertaining horror films right up to the end of his life. And I think that's very cool. And so, with that, let us return to our film.
Now I will show you how we make coffee in the desert, underneath the stars.
You don't make it yourself, do you?
Oh, of course not. A Circassian slave, lovely as sin.
Stripped to the waist, and lashed for miles across the Sahara.
Where she is finally eaten by locusts, and rightly. Now, take this canister and do exactly as I tell you. Two. Four. Five.
Arms away from... What's the matter with you? Are you mad, eh?
What was the matter with him? Was it drink?
No. Terror. Stark terror.
Oh, then I've caught it.
You stay here. I'll look after him.
must look out for somebody. Why look further?
Huh? Come on, then.
Rafe! That limp, I'd swear to it anywhere. That's the man.
Look here, did you give a note to this young
Gather
lady?
up your things and get out of here. The master, I've seen you.
I did. That's the last time I'll ever try to make coffee in a strange house.
Man with a limp. Who was he?
Lang, your uncle's servant.
Well, he seemed mad to me.
Yes. And pretty dangerous. You others had better go into the library. I'll have a word with him.
Yes, come along. Mr. Broughton understands the man.
It would do no harm to warn my man to stand by.
Your man? Is he a sheik, too?
No, he's his chauffeur. He's outside now with my car.
You're not leaving us, are you?
My dear lady.
Not a very courageous person, our foreign friend.
You think he's run away? Absurd. I'd like you riding your bicycle with a Circassian slave, lovely as sin, across the handlebars.
What on earth are you talking about?
Now listen, good people.
Good?
Don't you think perhaps we're allowing this thing to get on our nerves? Don't you think perhaps if we took a grip on our self-control...
Now listen, good parson. This is our show, and our nerves are probably just as good as the next man's. So keep that sort of talk for your pulpit.
Right.
Oh, well, of course, I've no wish to interfere where I'm not wanted.
Then don't. This is not a Sunday school.
After that, I think I can say good night.
As you please. Well, I'm sorry I was offensive. Good night.
Oh, well, the tongue is an unruly member, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
I was tempted, but I did not fall. I did not fall. The thing's safe. I swear it. When you told me you'd come back from the grave, how could I believe you? I never knew such things could be. The girl, she has it. I swear it. Oh, oh.
What on earth's the matter with you? Look as if you'd seen a ghost.
I have. I saw Morlant as plainly as I see you. I'm going to mix myself a drink.
Betty, just a minute.
Well?
I have an idea they're trying to scare us out of this house.
No use blinding ourselves to the fact. There must be something pretty big at stake.
Something that depends on getting rid of us.
And me.
What are we going to do? Take her shoes.
All right. Is this yours?
Yes.
I'll keep an eye on Ralph. Well, I think you've every chance of seeing things if you lower Scotch at that pace.
I'll come down. What do you want?
There was somebody in the library.
Who?
I don't know. The door. It's shut. It's shut.
Don't scream.
Oh, that's what I need. The command in your wonderful voice.
Come with me.
What is it? What's the matter?
I've seen him.
Now perhaps you believe what I told you.
Get me a glass of water quickly, will you?
I wasn't hurt. Only frightened.
Broughton, see if you find Miss Caney, will you?
It's wonderful to be with a man who isn't afraid.
I am afraid.
You, who have ridden barebacked over the desert.
If you don't stop chattering, I'm afraid I shall have a knife in my back.
But when I'm with you, I have to. It comes like poetry.
Are you prepared to obey me?
In anything.
Then close your eyes and don't speak for 10 seconds.
We all panic sometimes.
I cut his hands on me.
That's why I know it was no ghost.
It was no ghost. Look at the clock. It's nearing the hour. I know where to find him now. He's gone back to the tomb, to his heathen gods.
And you and I will... Wait a minute. What's his doctor's telephone number?
Yaxford, 72.
The character of Miss Caney in tonight's film is portrayed by a character actress by the name of Kathleen Harrison. She was a very prolific actress who was in many, many films, this is only one of them, and usually played similar characters who were there for comic relief. The most famous character she played, which might be familiar to some of you, was the charwoman in the 1951 version of A Christmas Carol that starred Alistair Sim. For me, I grew up watching that every year, and quite enjoyed her performance as the somewhat histrionic charwoman. Another interesting fact about Kathleen Harrison is she lived to be 103 years old, dying only in 1995, therefore easily the last surviving member of this cast.
Greetings, I'm Lady Nikki Kirby. You may recognize my voice from Witch Hat Chats. It is a privilege to be participating in the Halloween Psychic Fair. The entity known as death is a universal constant that is often misunderstood. It comes in various forms, and we experience it on a daily basis. Discover how to tap into this powerful magic to transform your life in my workshop called Death, My Friend, My Ally. To register, please visit www.halloweensucketfair.com, and I look forward to meeting you. Have an amazing day.
Happy Halloween, folks, and welcome to the month of October, and I'm hoping you're going to enjoy this wonderful festive season. HalloweenPsychicFair.com, where our online psychic fair is occurring, is where you can get seances, classes, and psychic readings to your heart's delight. We had an opportunity for an all-access pass which can bring you into dozens of classes by major people, including Byron Ballard, Phil Farber, Reverend Don Lewis, and so many more spectacular people teaching you how to be a psychic, as well as practicing simple magic and a way to learn how to be better at your craft. Plus, we are going to add on these magical seances with Reverend R.J. Greenfield, Reverend Don Lewis doing these major psychics. Plus, we're going to have some great people doing just ordinary readings for you, if there's anything ordinary about a reading. So check it out, HalloweenPsychicFair.com, one of the greatest places to be. It'll be running through the entire month of October, and you'll be able to enjoy it. So check it out, look at it, enjoy, HalloweenPsychicFair.com. Join us today, and happy Halloween.
And now we return for the end of our film where the villain is revealed, and the villain is revealed, and the villain is revealed. But I think you'll particularly enjoy the fate of the pastor. I know that I did. Now let us go back to our film.
You're not a parson, just a dirty crook.
You'd better get out of my way.
Your hand, eh? So that's how it was done.
I wouldn't come any nearer.
I don't have to.
Look, if you please. Thank you. Come on now.
When I phoned the doctor, I told him to bring the police. They ought to find us stuff.
Even if they do come, how can they break down that door?
They'll find a way.
I'll make a bandage.
The doctor in charge didn't understand the case. I'm afraid of catalepsy.
Meaning?
Morlant was buried alive.
Oh, Mr. Dreadnought, what were those shots?
Out of my way.
Where are the others?
Leave me alone!
Oh.
I rather thought you might be leaving in a hurry with something in your pocket that doesn't belong to you. Hand it over.
You win. That woman! There she is!
Come now.
Oh, you put up your gun, you fool! I tell you, she's got it!
Come on, then. Now, Miss Taney, if you please.
I don't think so.
You fool.
If either of you two horrible men so much as move in his gold.
You don't know the value of that jewel.
I don't care for the value, it'll go. And if you shoot, I'll go with it. I mean it. Down 30 feet. And about 60 feet of water. And then Australia. I can't see the target. That light seems much lower.
Patsy! Quick, come on, get out, get him out of here. Right.
The door! The door! Shut! The flames! They mustn't reach the door!
No good, you can't get in there.
Cartridge! Here! I've had enough of this, Miss Caney. Supposing I'm ready to shoot and take the risk.
You'd be taking a bigger risk than you think.
I'll take that gun, thank you.
Now look here.
That'll do. Now, what's the problem?
This. They're after it. All of them. Belong.
I'll carry her to the house.
Get back! Get back over!
Well, that was The Ghoul from 1933. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week we will be watching Son of Ingagi from 1940. Son of Ingagi has the distinction of being the first horror film with an all-black cast from a script written by a black author from his own original story. So I think you'll find it very interesting And it's probably a film you've not seen before. And so I hope that you'll join me, and I think we'll all enjoy it together. And so until next time, may you blessed be.